Okay, this is going to be the start of a brand new series that I'm going to call When It's Over, It's Over. And the reason I'm making this series because, a lot of times, some people, it's not only just for married folks, but for relationships and whatever. When a relationship or marriage is over, you just got, accept that it's over. I know a lot of times, when people break up, it's going to be heartache. It's going to be pain and everything, especially if y'all had a long relationship, a long marriage. But you gotta, when it's over, you just gotta get over it, move on, and continue living your life. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna use this court case here as a backdrop to point out, some things, that we all, need to see and all we can learn from so we don't fall into these pitfalls or traps, you know, ourselves. And not only just to ourselves, but, you know, for others, so others don't make the same mistakes as well. So anyway, I'm gonna talk about it, and of course, we give my commentary. Let's begin.
On Divorce Court today. Is a classic game console the cause of friction between Kenneth and his wife Betsy? Or is his new girlfriend the real reason Betsy's horns came out? Kenneth Figgins and Betsy Lazard have brought their dispute for Judge Lynn Toller to resolve. Testimony in divorce court starts now. Mr. Figgins, you came here. You're divorcing your wife, but you came here for one very specific reason. You want her to return your Xbox to you. And not just an Xbox. You're like emotional.
All right, let me say this, before they continue. If you with someone and y'all get it, and you're planning on getting a divorce from the person, when you pack up your things, you need to pack everything. You need, if you're gonna divorce someone, you move out. You try to pack everything. You know, whether it's TV that you want, not only just your clothes. Also, in this case, he said a video game. Well, if you really wanted that game or really liked that game, you should have took the game with you when you left. So that's why I say if you are planning on if you're living with someone and y'all married and then you're planning on getting a divorce, then you need to certain things that you know that you like and you want, you need to pack them up and take them with you when you leave. So you're where you don't end up being in court fighting over a stupid game console like this guy is. Should have took it with you when you left. All right, let's continue.
Attached to this particular you never even upgraded as the years went on because you had a tie that was meaningful with this particular piece of equipment. Yes, sir. She has either absconded with it or done something, but you want it back. And if you can't get it back, you'll take money for it, but you really want that piece of equipment. Am I right? Yes, ma'am. Okay. How did we get there? Tell me how you met and what your relationship was like. When I first met, I met on chat line. Mm-hmm. And when I met on chat line, I was like about to get rid of it, about to start leaving, about to start leaving and start dealing with the chat line thing. But it was something when I met her, I was like, I just draw attached to her. Mm-hmm. Meaning, when I'm saying attached to her, meaning that I seen that she was a godly woman. Mm-hmm.
All right, let me say this: when you first meet someone, whether it's in person or especially on the chat line, I mean, she could, possibly be a godly person, but you really don't know. You really don't. When you meet someone, off a chat line or a dating site or date line, you really don't know who that person is. You really don't know who that person is until you actually talk to them on the phone and also see them and meet them in person and sit down and talk with them in person. That's when you really, get a familiar or, familiar with the person and really kind of know what the person is. You can't really tell what kind of person is when you just talking to them either on a chat line or even a dating site. All right, let's continue.
And I was like, well, hey, this is the type of woman that I'm looking for. Ladies, you know how you looking for a godly man.
Mr. Piggy,
You know.
Mr. Piggy.
I'm just trying to get to the point. You know, most women be trying to look for a certain man and look for a certain woman. You know, and that's what I was looking for. So I found her. I said, well,
Let me say this. He said that he was, looking for a godly woman. To me, it seemed like this guy was just desperate and just looking for any kind of woman. And he looked at the woman, the woman looked nice to him. Probably looked at her and said, "Oh yeah, she's probably lonely or whatever." Yeah. Let me see if I can get with her and everything like that. All right, let's continue.
found her.
So you found a godly woman on the chat line.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, how long after you figured out she was a godly woman did you actually meet her in person?
It was like within a month or so.
In a month or so?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Lazard, is that basically how it happened?
No, we didn't meet on a chat line. It was on tag on the computer. It's a dating site. We met on tag, like the chat line.
Okay. Is a chat line tagging a tag?
It's taggy, yeah. It's like you call and
Just talk to whoever's on there.
And he kept sending me messages and stuff and giving me his number, and I would ignore him. And I finally decided to call him. So when I
All right, let me say this before she continues, guys. If you're on a dating site and you use online dating, you're on a dating site. You message the thing is you message a person one time, then you wait for them to respond. And if they don't respond to you, then obviously they're not really interested, or they're not interested at that time. So you just move on. You're on a dating site, you message someone, you don't message them, you don't keep messaging them over and over again. Because when you do that, that tend to makes you look desperate. Same goes for women, but women don't really do that anyway. Usually, if they message a guy they like, they usually message him maybe once, possibly twice, but then after that, they don't message him anymore until he messages them back. Yeah, so that's something for you guys, to keep in mind that when you're on these dating sites, chat sites and stuff, you message a person, they go message, message, wait for them to respond, and then once they respond, then you respond back. Just like a game of tennis. You hit the ball over the net, you wait for them to hit the ball back. All right, let's continue.
called him, we talked, and I thought that I bet he was the one. I really did thought he was the one.
Why did you think he was the one?
And let me say this too: is he said when he started talking to her that she was the one, and then when she started talking to him and everything, she thought he was the one. See, a lot of times when you first meet someone, you might like them, find them attractive, you like their personality, y'all might have things in common, but you really don't know if a person really is quote unquote the one until actually you get to really spending some time with them, not just the first time, but maybe dating each other, maybe see each other a few times, go out on a few dates and things like that, and talk on the phone sometimes, things like that. Then that's when you kind of get familiar with a person and kind of say, well, he could be and one, she could be, I'm kind of feeling this person and everything. Not just off the first conversation, and definitely not off the first meeting, both for men and women. All right, let's continue.
What's he throwing out there?
I don't know. We talked and we had a lot in common and stuff like that. We both liked the wrestle and it's different. And I thought that he was a minister, the wrestling.
The wrestling.
Yeah. And we love wrestling. The raw and breakdown.
And he told you he was a minister?
Oh, yeah, Minister Higgins. Yeah. He said he was.
Did you go there with it?
I went there later on, John. Later on.
Now, are you a minister in the world or just a minister in your own mind?
No, the reason I was born there.
Let me say this too. He probably, like I say, he is a minister, but can't really judge. I'm really not gonna judge him on that. But being that if you are a minister or you is a minister, you got to conduct yourself in a certain way. Especially you are man following God, man of God, especially being a minister. You got to really follow your follow a certain way. You really got to pray, read the Bible and stuff like that, and ask the Lord to lead you and everything like that. But it seemed like in this man's case that he wasn't being led by quote unquote by the Spirit of God. He was being more led by his flesh, as the Bible says. All right, I'm not gonna make this. I'm not gonna get into no preaching right now. I just wanted to make that statement there. All right, let's continue.
Where I was at in the hometown I was at. Okay. I was ordained there, and when I left, and I came, and I told her later on. She said, "Well, what is about?" And I told her, I said, "Look, I am an ordained minister. I do minister where I was at my hometown." So that's what I did. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie on that part.
Now, Minister Figgins, you say you moved in with her on the second date.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let me say this too. Under any circumstances, don't for man or woman, never move in with someone on the second. How is well, I blame both of them. I mainly blame her. How is she gonna allow this man she barely knows, and even though he says he's a quote unquote minister, but how are you gonna allow this man to move in with you after a second date? Before you allow somebody to move in with you, um, ladies, you got to at least, have, at least know the man or at least date the man. I say at least a minimum of 6 months, maybe a year before you allow him to move in. And gentlemen, you should also not want to move in with a woman until you've been dating her at least 6 months or at least, or for me, a year. But at least I say a minimum of 6 months or so before you decide to move in with each other, whether she moves in with you or whether you move in with her. All right, let's continue.
Explain the logic in that decision and how that complied with your search for a godly woman.
I'm gonna put it in layman's terms. I did a girl move to move in with her.
Ding. And one thing I will say about him, at least he looks back at it now. At least he realized that him moving in with her after the quote unquote second date was a dumb move on his part. So I got to give him credit for that. At least he looks back at it now and realized that hey, me moving in with this woman, especially after second date, was not a smart move. It was a dumb move on my part. At least he's man enough to own it. So I got to give him credit for that. And that's what we got to do. When we make mistakes, we all in life, we all going to make mistakes. But when we know better, we do better. And we also got to be open enough to honestly admit that, hey, I made a mistake. Hey, I shouldn't have done that. And she as well, she should have done that too, especially if you want to see her that she has a child. You just don't move a man and you don't really know. And this man, though he says he's an all-day minister, this man could be a rapist, this man could be a child molester and stuff like that. You gotta really vet people and really find out what they really are and what they're all about before you now move in, especially if you know you got, a child or children living with you. Like I said, who the heck knows? You just don't know who these people really are sometimes. Like I said, you really gotta be careful, especially if you got children. Anyway, let's continue.
Instead of taking my time to get to know her.
Bing, ding. See, at least he knows and realized that he rushed into a situation where he should have been taking time to get to know him, and that's what I'm saying for not only for you guys but also for the ladies as well. That you gotta really take your time to get to know a person, especially before you move in with someone. Even if she offered for him to move in after the second day. He should say, no, let's get to know each other better. Let's get better familiar with each other. Take our time. Then you see how things go, and then hey, we can talk about moving in together or living together. All right, let's continue.
Real.
What? What's the real me?
I've been on a couple of really great dates with guys. I really have. Back in the day. But I never say, oh, second date. I'm moving in. What? What was going on? Did you not have a place to stay?
I was like, I'm telling you, honest, I did have a place to live at, but I was just basically, I guess maybe that loneliness started coming on.
The And like I say, when you get involved with a person, especially if you got your own place and everything. Like I say, okay, maybe she can come over to your place, spend time with you at your place. Then you can go over her place, spend time at her place. But you gotta be so quick, jumping quick to move in with a person. All right, let's continue.
Maybe I was feeling because my first wife that I left, she left me, to be with somebody else and start doing it. So I started feeling about it. Instead of me trying to turn towards God, I started toward the internet.
But I got you.
Yeah, and let me say this too. And being that he said that he was married once, a lot of times when you in a marriage, and after you get out of a marriage, I don't know him. I don't know how long he's been since he's been divorced from his first wife. But a lot of times, men, both for men and for women, that you need to, before you get into a relationship or even decide to want to get married to someone else again, you need to take some time to yourself, at least a minimum of a year before you start, talking to other people and dating and stuff like that. You need some time just to be to yourself. A lot of people out here today just don't know how to be alone and take time for themselves. They leave one marriage, boom, want to jump in and get married again. They leave one relationship, boom, they want to jump in again. You got to give yourself time to heal. You got to give your time self to get cleansed, and get yourself, together and get focused and everything. And look back, on the marriage or relationship, to look at, hey, what things you did wrong, what things you could have done better, so you don't carry that over to your next relationship or next marriage. That goes for both men and women. That's something that, I think we all, that people all need to do when they get out of a relationship or definitely get out of a marriage. All right, let's continue.
Ms. Lazard, what were you thinking that you let a man that you've only known for a little while move in with you after the second date?
Because I guess because I ain't had nobody in years. I've been single like 6, 7 years.
They, let me say this too, and she did admit to other times. This, like I said, go for the ladies as well too. I understand for ladies been single for a long time, like you say, she lonely and everything, but still, even though you might have been single for a long time and been lonely, you just don't want to, jump in quick and move in with a person, like I stated earlier, because you move the person in, and you don't really know who this person is you're moving in. Like I said, this person, like I said, could be an axe murderer, could be a child molester, could be a rapist. You just don't know. That's why I say a lot of times, even when you is lonely, you still take your time, get to know a person before you allow them to move in with you, or even before you will move in with them as well. All right, let's continue.
He was a minister, the other man, I thought he was the one. So, he was staying with some people and they wouldn't getting along and his job wasn't really good.
And let me say this too. Usually, a lot of times when people like this are lonely and they're desperate, a lot of times when they quick to move a person, it's usually also a sign, not only just for men, but for women too. It's a sign of low self esteem. Usually, when a person, has low self esteem, and like you said, they've been single for a long time, lonely and everything, they tend to do desperate things like this. All right, let's continue.
So I just like, come on, brother, come on in here to let him come in and live with me and my daughter.
Then you got married.
Yeah.
The horns came out.
And what happened?
She started showing her real true color.
Dean, let me say this too. A lot of times when people first start dating and getting to know each other, that's what happens. A lot of times, as they say, put their best foot forward. A lot of the bad habits or bad stuff, that they do and stuff like that. And a lot of times they'll show, as they say, as some people say, they're representative, as they say. Their best, their good side, as they say. Everybody says they has a good side and a bad side. Usually, when people first, both men and women, they first start dating and getting to know each other and everything, everybody's they're putting forth their best foot forward. They put this representative, their good side. But then, as you get to know a person, or as time goes on, then you get to see their quote unquote, they say, bad side. So. Like I said, he's recognizing, seeing that, hey, when he got involved with, he saw all her good qualities, all the good things she was doing. Then no soon as he move in and they get married, then now he's getting to see all her bad qualities, or as they say, quote unquote, her bad side. All right, let us continue.
And they were what?
Started showing that, that she was starting to drink.
Drinking.
Started to gamble. Taking care of, when I'm telling her, you don't need to take care of your family. You have your priorities here at the house. You giving them money here, giving them money. And as soon as you started to do things, you wanted to moan and groan about, I need this, I need money.
Well, let me say this too. A couple things here, real quick, before we continue. One, like I said, that's what people do. They put their best, put their best foot forward, and then once they get, y'all get locked in and get hooked in, then that's when, like they say, that quote unquote bad side comes out. And also, too, that's why I say it's always good to take your time to really get to know a person, before you really decide to get serious, so you can pick up and learn these things, these things about what they like, whether they drink, or they have a drinking issue, a drinking problem, or whether they have a gambling problem. And then also, you got to understand, when you're in a relationship, when he was saying about money, of course, you're going to need money, especially when you get married. Any marriage or any serious long-term relationship, hey, it's going to cost money. You're going to have to spend money, especially if you're living together. It's going to cost money. You got bills and stuff you got to pay, and things like that. And in this case, you married to her, and she had a child, so you had the child to help take care of too. So of course, it's going to cost money. So you can't complain about money. Hey, money is always going to be an issue in a marriage or relationship. All right, let's continue.
Moaning and groaning, and I'm like, what's going on? Is this a real,
About the real. Hang on. First of all, the part I don't understand is this, and you can maybe explain this to me. He says he lived with you for 8 months. You weren't a drinker, you weren't a gambler, but the minute you said I do, you started doing all those things. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Do you drink? A little bit every now and then.
A little bit. You want to get on Facebook?
Yes.
Picture a woman like here. I'm not talking about those, but picture, that slit small liquor.
I don't drink slit
Or that highlight. She drink 40 ounces like it's going out of style.
Whatever.
Next, drinking, gambling, and shrimp fettuccine. Does all of that help or hurt this marriage? If the ink on your marriage license is barely dry, but you're ready to call it quits, call toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or visit our website at divorcecourt.com. Become a fan at facebook.com/divorcecourt. Real relationships rising prices. Divorce court continues. Mrs. Lazard, he says that once you got married, you started gambling and drinking, and that was the problem. What do you see as the problem? He was the problem. He's a liar because he drank himself and he was at the casino. When I called him on the phone, I heard the machines going off. He think I said, "What that on at the casino?" He go to the casino too, so he cannot talk.
All right, let me say this for you can say it. Well, like I said, you didn't. Like I said, not only just you, but you didn't vet him as well. You know, like I say, you were so, like you say, so lonely. You know, desperate. You know, after the second date, you moved the man in. You really didn't spend time or really didn't vet the man and really find out what the man was all about. And the same goes for him too. You know, he was lonely, he was desperate, and that's why he was so quick to rush and move in after this when you offered him to move in after the second date. See, that's why I say we. That's why I always say, you know, when people always tell people, you always when you get involved in a relationship, you gotta take your time and really get to know a person before you really get, you know, real seriously involved with it. And especially when you're gonna take a big step in marriage, you know, you really have to take your time and really get to know the person, you know, both sides, both men and women. All right, let us continue.
He could never keep a job. He, when he moved in, he was going on his bike everywhere looking for a job in every restaurant. He couldn't find a job. He booking on his bike everywhere. And he get credit for that booking on his bike. Yeah.
All right, let me say this too. Well, you know, if you're going to move in with somebody, you got to make sure you have a steady job and everything. You know, you shouldn't be trying to run for pillar to post and everything. Before you move in with someone, you need to have a, you know, steady job, steady income coming in and everything before you get involved in a serious relationship, especially moving in with somebody, especially moving in with this lady here and she has a child and you're getting married. You know, especially, you know, when you're going to be in a long term relationship or even especially marriage, you got to make sure that you know, you work and you have a steady job. You know, instead of, you know, don't get involved with no one if you ain't got no real steady job. And definitely don't get married to nobody if you don't, you know, if you're not working steady, you don't have a steady job. Working steady job, get yourself together and everything with steady income, so coming in before you get serious with anybody. Okay, let us continue.
Yeah, that's what Christ was trying, yeah. He was trying hard, you know. Yeah. But he got a job and stuff with the little jobs he would get. He didn't support me. I get disability and my daughter. I was paying my own bills. He couldn't even keep a job. He had to pay his child support and everything. He wouldn't have no money. He would rent furniture and they would come get it. Soon as he would rent it, I'm ashamed, did a big old churro.
All right, let me say this too, because we'll tell you. If you ain't got a steady job and you know that you don't, you know, have a steady income like that, then that's one thing you definitely shouldn't be doing. You definitely shouldn't be renting no furniture or nothing like that. If you're going to get furniture, you know, maybe see if you can, you know, get some good, decent used furniture. Maybe like some like good furniture, maybe from a thrift store, maybe from a Goodwill. You know, they sell a lot of good furniture at a real reasonable, cheap price. You know, so don't just still be renting stuff knowing that you can't afford to pay for. You know, when you're in a marriage relationship, you gotta be try to be financially stable, you know, and financially responsible. All right, let's continue.
Roll up in y'all, come and get all the furniture, come and get everything. I mean, he ain't no man. He cannot, please don't understand y'all. Everything he says is a lie. He told me he was.
And I agree with her. She's absolutely right. You get with someone and I mean, woman, you get with a man and he's not steady working and not being responsible. Yeah, she's absolutely right. Then that's you're actually not being a man. You're actually being like a little child or quote unquote like her son. And it seemed like that's the way she kind of looked at him when she got involved with him and got married to him. But you know, like I said, I blame both of them. But I blame her for not letting him get to know him well enough, and then I also blame him for getting involved with this woman and not having his stuff together. All right. Anyway, let us continue.
Went to college, and he fell off the balcony and broke his arm. That's why he couldn't go to pro football. Mr. Figgins, did you tell him that you were in college and you were good?
Yes, sir. I was in college. And it's funny fact, like I say, yeah, you listen to my mama, because like I say, at that time, yeah, me and my mom was not seeing eye to eye at the time. Because we was going through.
And let me say this too, real quick before they continue. A lot of times, you know, you dealing with somebody, and then you're in a parent. Sometimes parents will drop down on their kids. Like she was saying that his mama told her that, hey, my son ain't right, or son ain't no good, and stuff like that. So parents actually do that to try to warn you, to try to help you out. And then also, same thing goes for men too. That when you meet a young lady's mother and stuff like that. Most time the mother will drop down on her daughter too. Say, hey, my daughter ain't right. Watch my daughter. Be careful of her. Some parents will drop down on their kids, especially if they know their kids ain't right. Try to keep your heads up at once. So that's something that both men and women often need to keep in mind. All right, let's continue.
For a transition at the time. Now me and my mama artsy on her because of the scam booger that I married right here. The scam booger. A scam booger is a person that's a full of booger mess.
That's another one for the DC dictionary. Scam booger. And you knew about the scam booger is him. At some point, Ms. Lazard, you think that Mr. Figgins began to